My name is Desmond Miles. 1,000 years of history flowing through my veins. All I know is I need to get out of here.
Quick and succinct opening to catch people up in the story from AC1 so we don't have to play it because, oh boy, was the first game a slog. This red wall has a lot of interesting messages written by Subject 16, is really eerie way of starting the game. Most of what is found on the wall all have vague references to the end of the world, some math equations expressing infinity and chaos, and some phrases in Chinese just to seem more cool. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to know more about everything on this wall. It's a great way to show how mad the animus drove Subject 16. Did we really need to see Ezio's birth? Probably not, but being there from start to finish with his life has made him go down as one of the most loved characters in gaming.
Get up. Let's go.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna need a second.
I would too if I just had to relive a birth and remember it.
Is it animuses or animi?
Love that Desmond doesn't really understand what's at stake right now. He's just kind of being a goof. It's a nice little touch that Desmond can't really fight yet. All he can do is punch.
After what those Templar bastards put me through, I'm ready, willing, and able.
Desmond doesn't even hesitate, just ready to go right away. Sometimes it's better just to go all in than sit and deliberate.
I'm sorry, where are my manners? I'm Sean Hastings. This is Rebecca Crane.
They're touch and go throughout the entire game. Don't worry, Sean, we still love you.
Actually, I prefer Animus 2.0, since baby's twice as awesome as anything you'll find at Abstergo.
Some nice in-universe reason for all the gameplay and UI adjustments between AC1 and 2.
What's done is done, Desmond.
Don't dwell on the past, accept and move forward. There he is.
Insieme per la vittoria!
Ezio's first words we hear is basically the way he lives his entire life through the Assassin's Creed. He's got to get his lip scar somehow, right?
I've no money for this doctor of yours.
Ubisoft has their fun every now and then with the stereotypical Italian gesturing.
It is a good life we lead, brother.
The best. May it never change.
And may it never change us.
The best title card to any game ever. Is it completely carried by the score? Yep. But I don't care. It's beautiful and always fills me with joy.
May I come in?
Fine, but only for a minute.
A minute is all I need.
Indeed.
Well, wait. That came out wrong.
Ezio is so well established as a young, relatable teenager that we can all just relate to. This setup makes the eventual crash hit all the more. And who hasn't said something this embarrassing to a partner before?
Your behavior is unacceptable. It reminds me of myself when I was your age.
Father vindication.
Buongiorno a voi, madre. Come state?
It's explained as a glitch in the animus that some Italian slips through here and there, which I love as it spices up the dialogue and helps immerse us more in the culture of the story.
Still recovering from last night?
Even a game in 2009 had some pretty banging facial animations. I mean, come on, I know I've made that exact expression before.
You should find an outlet.
I have plenty of outlets.
I meant besides vaginas.
Ezio has a wonderful open relationship with his family. I'm blessed to have an open relationship with my parents as well, and would suggest giving it a shot if you're not with yours.
I'd rather contribute more practically, more directly.
Like making a blade that will kill hundreds of people.
I loved him.
No, Claudia. You only thought you did.
He should suffer for what he's done.
Did you all see Ezio cast that Jedi mind trick on Claudia? I mean, there was nothing subtle about that hand wave.
Oh, Duccio.
Oh, Duccio.
Give it here.
Ezio's cool and suave and around people like him, but throw him around those less fortunate, he folds over, which is pretty realistic to people nowadays. Love how much Desmond looks like his ancestors. I mean, of course he does, but the designers did it really well between Ezio and Desmond, giving them shared features like their nose, but keeping them distinct from each other. You can never go wrong with a nice suit-up montage, especially when paired with this banging score.
Understanding, Ezio. I'll clear everything up.
Mysterious hooded man foreshadows betrayal.
Don't worry, Ezio. Everything is going to be fine.
Well, he wasn't lying. Everything was fine from his side. He got exactly what he wanted.
You are the traitor, Roberto, and one of them. You may take our lives this day, but we will have yours in return, I swear!
A promise that is fulfilled. This is why you gotta say what you want out loud. Manifest it.
Father!
Roger Craig Smith's performance as Ezio is just immaculate.
Blade is designed to ensure the commitment of whoever wields it.
Ezio, just like Desmond, is ready to go all in being an assassin before he really knows what he's signing up for.
I was only having fun, Ezio.
Leonardo's a funny guy.
What of the body?
Bring it inside and put it with the others.
Back in the old days was a weird time, and Leonardo, a weird dude, but hey, ethics weren't as stark as they are today, and someone's gotta figure out the human body.
Be attending an unveiling tonight of Verrocchio's latest work.
So you ready for some reaching? Leonardo da Vinci was a pupil of Verrocchio in real history. Uberto is going to an unveiling of his latest work, so I find it poetic that Leonardo and Ezio unveil their latest work to him in the form of the hidden blade and assassin skills, respectively. You can see and feel the rage inside Ezio with this kill. No respect, no honor, just brutal vengeance for its own sake.
The Auditore are not dead! I'm still here! Me! Ezio! Ezio Auditore!
Pretty badass of Ezio to murder this high-profile figure in broad daylight, scream out his own name, all while surrounded by guards, and the camera work just makes this all the better. Mario really wearing his heart on his sleeve with that assassin insignia on his shoulder.
Do I know you from somewhere?
Don't you recognize me? It's me, Mario!
They just couldn't resist, could they?
But I just don't have the time or money to fix things up. Guess that's life, huh?
Sad reality noises.
I trust you believe me now?
Yes. My father was an assassin.
Relaying this exposition over training is much more engaging than just walking around the city and listening to them talk.
It seems my plan is to get something on attack. Here these men ambushed. Now we're gonna have
Mario is remarkably calm for someone in the middle of a war zone.
May the Father of Understanding guide you.
May the Father of Understanding guide you.
Nothing is true. Everything. Oh, whoops.
Pezzo di merda! Vorrei solo che avesse sofferto di più!
Again, Smith impresses with his performance. Though this is basically the end of his arc, it's still great to see what he grows into from this rage.
Do you think he would have shown either of us such kindness?
You are not Fieri. Do not become him.
Never stoop to your enemy's level.
Do you know what that means? Ea puttane! What? It's true!
Nice.
You must be Ser Ezio. Am I right? Uncle! I like this architetto!
He gets very observant when he can smell mud.
This is a nice bit of levity from all the seriousness that has been going on for the last 3 memories.
The past 2 years have been kind to you.
But you are not the same at all, are you?
These two are such chums. Ezio said nothing, but Leo picks up on his new energy and understands things have changed. Leo did say that he uses bodies for research purposes.
Here is your money.
The way he catches his money is baller, but like, he could have just accidentally swatted the pouch off the roof. Confidence, I guess. You'll notice I don't use the armor of Altair. That's just because I love these default robes so much, but that doesn't take away from how badass those robes are and how fun and well designed each of the assassin tombs are.
I can't wait to go home to Elena and tell her how much gold we made tonight.
Humanizing the bad guys. These soldiers just doing what they're told doesn't make them inherently bad. It's normally just the ones at the top that are awful.
Do not underestimate our enemies, Francesco. Or have you already forgotten how your son was murdered?
Jacopo is probably the most wise and smart of these Templars, and since Templars are bullheaded, it's what gets them killed, sadly.
May the Father of Understanding guide us.
May the Father of Understanding guide us.
Requiescat in damn it, so close.
There he is. Time to strike.
As stupid as it is, you gotta respect the top of the order being the ones to get their hands dirty.
Gods! Gods!
No one's coming for you, Francesco.
I am in your debt once more, my friend.
Anytime, Ezio. Anytime.
Everyone deserves a friendship like these two.
Fede dovrebbe dare conforto, non pena. Ora sei libero dalla paura. E tu possa al fine trovare riposo, nel corpo e nella mente.
In a short amount of time, Ezio's become wise beyond his years, and it's beautiful to see the respect he shows his enemies. For those who watched trailer footage, we believed that this man would be dying at Carnevale. Nice of them to switch it up on us, so it wasn't a spoiler.
You make excuses and insult us? How do you expect me to respond?
I don't know.
You know, I feel really bad for Jacopo, mostly because of that sad delivery.
I know you're only doing as you're told. So if you release me, I will spare your lives.
See what I mean from earlier? Even Ezio recognizes that fact about these soldiers. Ezio's strong as shit lifting the entire wagon. With how samey the gameplay can get from time to time, the set pieces here and there are a nice breath of fresh air.
Madonna.
Oh, you're good. The ladies must like you.
The men too. At me.
It would be my pleasure to welcome you.
I look forward to enjoying your hospitality.
With all the literal stabbing, I forgot about Ezio's affinity for the other kind.
That woman is as powerful and dangerous as she is young and beautiful.
Sempre come una donna per me.
This is the harmless talk the phrase boys will be boys should relate to.
Something happened in 1321, yeah? Polo encountered the assassins while visiting Kubla Khan. This must be when he obtained the Codex. Now, when he returned to Italy, he passed it on to Dante. Now, I've no idea what brought the two of them together. I reckon we could find out.
Sean is abrasive, but it's because he really cares about his work. I mean, listen to the way he goes off about Marco Polo and the Codex.
But sometimes there's no other way. Sometimes, Desmond, people have to die for things to change.
I'm still wrestling with that thought process. If you see my last of this video, I go into deep detail on why I feel so strongly that killing is never the answer. But then there's the other side of the coin of examples where people had to die to protect the greater good. It's something that I don't think for as long as we live we'll be able to ever come to a consensus on. Let me know how you guys feel about this topic down below.
You've picked up every single one of Ezio's skills.
Back in 2009, this was just cool sci-fi tech. Now with Neuralink becoming a possible thing in our lifetimes, downloading information and abilities might be something we get to experience.
What the hell?
Woo! Altair throwback.
Wait a second. Why aren't I following Altair?
I don't recall if they mentioned this in the first game, but this comment by Desmond confirms that the way we experience the game is the same as Desmond does. Third-person camera, UI, everything. Desmond checks to make sure his finger's still there. The time of the Animus is definitely getting to him. Learning from past mistakes.
We spared no expense in its design.
I hope you didn't do it like John Hammond. We all saw what happened to his park.
Di nulla.
Yes, I didn't miss the hug.
Go fetch Bianca and be quick.
What, are you gonna hack off her leg?
Your work in Florence and the rest of Tuscany. Good work, too. If a little unrefined.
Then you know why I'm in Venezia.
I can guess.
I like that Ezio's ego doesn't pipe up to Antonio calling his skills unrefined.
Un caffè.
What's cafe?
An interesting concoction.
I'll never not enjoy these little interactions about stuff we are so used to nowadays.
I was hoping you could help me with something.
And that would be?
I want to learn to climb the way you do.
Oh.
Ezio's a working man, can't have any distractions, but I do understand her disappointment.
In bocca al lupo.
Crepi lupo.
They don't translate it for us, but this saying is an Italian idiom used in theater and opera meaning good luck. Its literal translation is into the wolf's mouth and may the wolf die, which directly applies to the goal of this mission.
I feel the need to involve myself more directly. The Pazzi disappointed us in Firenze.
I feel him. Having things go awry when you're not in direct control of it stings a lot more than if you were.
We need to scout the palazzo carefully. See it from every angle. We just might find a way in. I know of a tall campanile behind the palazzo. Or we might find a way to climb the back of the basilica. Do you have any ideas?
I assume the front door is out.
And this is why we love you, Ezio.
Does it work, Leonardo? Can it really fly?
So cool that Ubisoft used a lot of Leonardo da Vinci's actual codex to bring these designs to life in the game and fantasize about how they might have worked. This is just dialed up to 11 in Brotherhood to such a fun degree.
Of course! Genio! What is he doing now?
Nice confirmation that Ezio doesn't understand a thing that Leo is ever doing, but just rolls with it. It's ridiculous, but just plausible enough to not feel out of place and be fun.
You are too late. The Doge is dead.
Well, he somehow managed to get his king to the opposite side of the board and was still alive, so good on him for the effort.
Forgive me, signore. I tried.
What a shit situation to be in. Your savior being moments late and apologizing for not being able to save you moments before your death. But hey, at least he apologized.
In fact, it seems to be a kind of arma da fuoco.
Ubisoft really just said, let's take all of Leonardo's possible inventions and make Ezio use them. And I'm here for it. The Carnivale cape is super sexy, and I'm sad we can't use it the whole game. Where did they get King Murad's mask from? Jacket from Caspian? These games are simple actions of what we do all the time, but with a fun narrative spin on them that shakes up the usual mission structure of, go kill these guys. And we play capture the flag, like what?
Don't know if I should kiss you or slap you. Maybe both, just...
Never a bad idea to cover all bases, and it's always a good day to kiss the homies.
Aha!
After fighting with him, I'm not surprised in the slightest that Bianca is a sword.
We should celebrate this victory! Ea puttane! What? It's true!
10 years hunting the man responsible. So close to the end now, but no closer to understanding what any of it was for.
It's this kind of reflection that I've been aching for since Ezio flipped his Y switch after killing Vieri. It's nice to see him contemplate and realize that killing all these men has brought him no peace. You know I gotta win the sauce.
But what's in this box?
What's in the box?
Theodora! What? What are you all doing here?
Avengers! Assemble.
You are all assassins?
I can understand him not knowing they were assassins, but some of them? Volpe? Mario? Mario even tells him he's an assassin. Either way, it's nice to see that to be an assassin, you don't need a hood with a beak.
Where other men blindly follow the truth,
Remember,
Nothing is true.
where other men are limited by morality or law, remember,
Everything is permitted.
The phrase is a really simple way to approach life, and I really like it, but the way the assassins live by it is hilariously hypocritical. But the hypocrisy of it is what I enjoy about it so much, because it proves that not even the best of us are infallible, and living that open and free as human beings is impossible. I like it as something to strive for, but to understand that reaching it is unrealistic and impossible.
This only hurts for a while, brother. Like so many things.
Thank God they got rid of the finger-cutting tradition. For one, it seems a little much and culty, but it's also a funny, humbling reminder of how aspects of tradition, religion, and cults can be born. Spoilers for Assassin's Creed Origins, but Bayek lost his ring finger because of a limitation of the mechanical design of the hidden blade. And not to feel embarrassed, Bayek decided to make the finger sacrifice tradition to show how hardcore you are about their club, when, in all reality, it's not necessary. It's still wonderful that the ceremony is punctuated by a leap of faith, as following the Assassin's Creed truly is just a leap of faith.
Explain to you why the Earth goes around the sun.
You mean the sun around the Earth?
Again, with their gaps in knowledge. Everyone's in pain, but Leo is the one that sees insight among the apple and tries to gain as much as he can from it before it's gone.
Silenzio! Silenzio! 22 years ago, I stood where I stand now and watched my loved ones die, betrayed by those I had called friends. Vengeance clouded my mind. It would have consumed me, were it not for the wisdom of a few strangers. It taught me to look past my instincts. They never preached answers, but guided me to learn from myself. We don't need anyone to tell us what to do. Not Savonarola, not the Medici. We are free to follow our own path. There are those who will take that freedom from us. Too many of you gladly give it. But it is our ability to choose whatever you think is true that makes us human. There is no book or teacher to give you the answers, to show you the path. Choose your own way. Do not follow me or anyone else.
You'll notice I skipped all of Bonfire of the Vanities but this moment. That's mostly because it was a DLC that wasn't intended to be part of the main game and is super boring. But this speech is something that should be. It's a beautiful full circle of Ezio's arc and should have been the moment when his arc completed. What makes this better is that he describes the Assassin's Creed in terms that are more reasonable and understandable versus the culty phrase.
I thought I was beyond this, but I'm not. I've waited too long, lost too much.
Now, after that speech, we thought Ezio was the perfect man and assassin, but when confronted face to face, he feels all that old vengeance flow back through him. He knows this kill serves a higher purpose, but feels guilty about enjoying the kill. It's the same thing Altair did.
No more tricks. No more ancient artifacts. No more weapons. Let us see what you are made of, old man.
You know, I'll let him have this. Being a grown wise man for over 20 years, being respectful and killing targets quickly, he's allowed one moment to feel himself and fight the man that murdered half his family.
Get it over with, then.
No. Killing you won't bring my family back. I'm done.
After all those heated feelings of vengeance resurfacing, Rodrigo gives Ezio time to think and calm down through fighting him. It's a good reminder that we as humans are weak in moments of rage and anguish. We are bound to make stupid decisions when our brains are clouded with one emotion, and we can't take time to reflect and make a measured choice.
We must speak.
Minerva looks straight into the camera, which is the Animus' camera, which is Desmond, which is super freaking cool.
Your minds were not yet ready.
And when this scene played back in 2009, our minds weren't ready either. This entire scene was a trip way back in the day.
You anchor him, but please be silent, that we may commune.
Ezio's place in the story being this simple and going through all he did just for Desmond to hear this message is awesome, gives me goosebumps every time.
Listen.
And again, Minerva knows exactly where the Animus camera is, and talking directly to Desmond blows my mind. And that also means that cutscenes in the Animus give the actual users cinematic angles just like we see.
The rest is up to you, Desmond.
And that's when we all shit bricks as we got confirmation that she was talking to Desmond.
What the fuck?
Desmond perfectly sums up all of our reactions. Could you imagine if they just ended it there, having to wait a whole year for Brotherhood to see what happens next? The mystery and confusion wrought from that scene was such an awesome time to be on the internet and an active fan. It breathed so much life into the community and ushered in the era of weird conspiracy theories and creepy feelings about the world of Assassin's Creed. Boy, does it feel good to whoop ass as Desmond in the modern day.
The Templars aren't our biggest threat. Not by a long shot.
So what, the sun is? What's it gonna do, cook the Earth?
I doubt it, but I don't know. There's been some speculation that the Earth's magnetic field is weakening. A sufficiently strong flare could flip the poles and cause a geomagnetic reversal.
And how fucking wild is it that Ubisoft hinged their modern-day story on the 2012 End of the World phenomenon, and to have to release their next 3 AC games once a year just in case the world didn't? And I mean, hell, for all we know, Desmond Miles, spoilers for AC3, did save the world, and this is the story about that. But we aren't really allowed to know, so they hid the truth in plain sight with this game. I know, a stupid theory, but at least the modern-day story had something actually going on in its narrative at this point in the Assassin's Creed franchise. You're probably thinking, wow, that was such a short video, there's gotta be so much he missed. To that I'd say, maybe. I'm not all-knowing, but to me, replaying this game surprised me with the amount of, I want to say filler, but that word has such a negative connotation attached to it. I guess for what I'm feeling is story-deprived missions? I'll go into that in a minute. Last I played AC2, I was young. Younger still when I played through my first time. And I'm sure that's the case for many of you as well. Assassin's Creed 2 had the benefit of releasing in a video game market that was overhauling almost every type of genre due to the massive jump in power between the generations. That, with a great story that maybe could have been told better, and our nostalgia being too kind to this game, we remember AC2 as the best in the series. That's where I was at replaying the game for this video. It was a humbling experience to say the least. We so often just remember the good parts, the good times associated with something long gone. Even now, when I think back to me playing as a kid, I romanticize those long nights running atop Venice's rooftops. And those memories are beautiful, and I will cherish those nights forever. But it becomes a problem if you let it skew present-day judgment, like I did. Now, I can approach the rest of this conclusion from 2 standpoints. Speaking on it from a critical standpoint with our modern understanding of what we believe we want out of a video game, or from back in '09 when we played it and what that experience was like. I'm not 90 anymore, and I've learned a lot about storytelling, video game structure, and at least a lot about what I desire out of a video game. So this might err on the more critical side of conclusions. But hey, constructive conversation will always beat out blind loyalty. I know, ironic when I say that, as this channel is formed around the idea of almost blindly looking for the good in what might otherwise be trash, but I'll digress and start actually talking about Assassin's Creed 2. For at least the first 4 memories, we get to watch a brash teenager get his entire life change in the course of a day and be forced to learn how to use murder as a tool responsibly and respectfully. And that's my biggest disappointment replaying the game. After killing Vieri, it's one little reprimand by Mario, and Ezio turns into his wise, respectful assassin self. I know the game jumps years at a time, and it's not hard to believe he did some soul-searching off camera, but how much more powerful would it have been if it took till near the end to complete his arc? To go through all of that with him just to regress for a moment at the end with Rodrigo. It was the decision of speedrunning his arc that a lot of the game to me feels devoid of story. All of Florence, Tuscany, and the slog of Venice is just plot, really. Do this to get closer to killing the bad guys. And it isn't very engaging because Ezio doesn't grow at all. Lengthen the arc throughout the whole game and have each Templar he murders relate to his position and his personal story, and maybe our thoughts of this being the best Assassin's Creed game would be vindicated. Am I being harsh? Am I being too negative for the channel that's supposed to beam positivity? Maybe. But not always is blind praise the best way to approach these videos. With objectively bad games, yes. But with a game we all hold so dear like Assassin's Creed 2, I think speaking constructively, at least for a moment, suits it better. Even with the disappointment of the story, it doesn't take away from the overall amazing product that is this game. The story told here is still a great one, just told in a funny way. That, in tandem with everything else it accomplishes, is what really made it such a masterpiece for its time. Being able to climb virtually any surface was nutty, basically pioneering the stereotypical open world of viewpoints and collectathons, and bringing us one of my favorite video game scores ever. I'd be remiss not to mention the stellar music used throughout the entire game. The music always hits just right in conjunction with its scene, and I'll catch myself throwing on Venice rooftops or Ezio's Family at least a few times a year out of nowhere. And I've got to talk about Ezio's Family. That track is... what a beautiful piece of music. Easily my favorite single track from any video game ever. It's beautiful and so impactful from a narrative standpoint. Everything Ezio becomes is because of family, which is why I love that the track has become the de facto Assassin's Creed theme. Which And I think it's perfect since after he lost his family, he was able to find a new one among the assassins. Ezio's family is the Assassin's Creed, and it fills me with so much joy that every game after AC4 has had a rendition of it in their OSTs. But Assassin's Creed 2 is nothing without its fantastic characters, chief among them one of the best leading men of the PS3 360 generation. This game isn't what it is without Roger Craig Smith as Ezio. The charisma coming from this man is astounding and something we all wish we could pull off. It's a special thing getting the opportunity to follow quite literally from birth to death the story of a character, and not have his characterization falter one bit throughout. I think I'm getting a bit ahead of myself though. I'll save that praise for the Revelation and Embers videos. Though I have my complaints about Ezio's character arc being rushed, it doesn't take away from the power of his story. My favorite aspect being that the entire time he was focused on family. In the start with his brother, doing everything he can to save the male Auditore, wanting to sail to Spain with his mother and sister, picking up his father's work, and standing by the assassins. Ezio is a man whose life is run by devotion to family, and if you've seen my other content, you know how important family is to me. So it's very cathartic to play as a man who does everything he can to avenge and protect what's left of his. But even beyond that, Ezio is just a likable ass dude. From his way with the ladies, to his funny jokes, to the rapport he shares with Leonardo. When I was younger, I remember wanting to be just like him, and I mean, hell, even now, I wouldn't mind it. At any stage of his story, really. I can't wait to talk about his character more in future Assassin's Creed videos, but I want to save a little bit to talk about for those videos. Assassin's Creed 2 is still a great game. It just hasn't aged as well as we might have hoped. When it succeeds, it does in spades, but the cracks are more obvious today than they ever were. I think my big takeaway from this experience with the game is that sometimes things are better off left as memory, remembered fondly upon in the safety of our minds.
A couple of weeks ago, the Templars found me.
Something I always forget and take for granted with Desmond's story is that everything in the course of 5 games spanning 5 years for us was only less than 3 months for Desmond. He was captured on September 1st, 2012, and sacrificed himself on December 21st, 2012. Oh, yeah, and spoilers for AC 1 through 3. You haven't played them by this point. Sorry, but talk about growth on Desmond's part.
But Lucy saved me. Lucy.
I enjoyed Lucy and Desmond's little romantic, I don't even want to call it subplot because it's so minor, so a fling. They still don't spend much time out of the Animus in this game, but their dynamic does a lot of legwork for humanizing their characters. More on this in a bit.
When things were at their worst, she revealed herself to be an assassin and helped me escape.
So why did Lucy break Desmond out if she was a Templar all along? In real life, there were disagreements between Kristen Bell and Patrice Delisle, creative director of Assassin's Creed 1 through Brotherhood, and he killed her character. Simple as that. In canon, it was actually because of Project Siren. Vidic and Lucy figured Desmond would be more open to exploring his ancestors among the assassins and would speed up this process. And the name is pretty neat too, because sirens in Greek myth would entrance their victims to do whatever they wanted, seducing sailors to their doom. Seeing their romantic tension and how I'm sure they dispose of him after his work is done, you can see the parallels.
It will come in handy as the Templars prepare to enslave us all.
And they really changed the narrative behind the Templars in the later games. For the better, I'd say. I kind of forgot the OGs were all about enslavement and ruling through fear and power. This through line made it easy for us to go Assassin's good, Templar bad. So, narrative growth and challenging your player base. Eventually.
My name is Desmond Miles, and this is my story.
Man, did this game just wear its age on its sleeve so hard with that line. And after that somewhat unnecessary old age recap, Ubi just throws us in the deep end. Ezio on a battlefield, new robes, some random sister f***er? Why did Mario lead him here? We don't know. But it's a great way to grab our attention. I was going to mention that it's always a great tactic of starting your story in media res, but, like, this is the end. And we don't really start here, so... And leave it to Ezio to be the one to charge into a battlefield just to kill one man. Okay, I don't know why I found this so funny. Uplay gives us an action complete. But like, all it did was start the game. I haven't even done anything yet. Participation medals are even in our video games now.
I don't understand. Please wait. I have so many questions.
Man, they really did just pick up exactly where we left off. And I love it. The Ezio Trilogy is so bingeable and about the best AC has on offer, and you know him, right? And boy, going from 2 to Brotherhood is like having a great night out and then waking up the next day with no hangover, ready to keep drinking. What I'm trying to say is the updated Anvil engine is putting in work, and even today, Brotherhood still looks really good. And I personally attributed this amount of color that was poured into the game versus its predecessor. AC2 is quite dull, and here, there's so much life in the presentation. And let us appreciate the beauty once again of the armor of Altair. If the server still worked, I would have rocked this the entire playthrough. And whatever they did to Ezio's beard, he wears it like a man in this game, where in AC2 he looks like a boy that was trying his best.
What can I say? He sent a single man against an entire army.
Judging by the end of this game, some things never change.
You condemn what you do not understand.
Damn, I love that line. When seeing Minerva, Ezio was curious rather than fearful, and that's how we need to approach most things. So, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood introduced the kill streak, or chain, whatever you want to call it, and I freaking love it. Yeah, it trivializes combat, but there's nothing more empowering and fun than just mowing through soldiers like some sort of god. Plus, it speeds up the rather slow, dull combat experience in the first two games. Plus, we can attribute this newfound ability to Ezio truly becoming one with his skills, and after seeing some weird mystical goddess, feels unchained in what is possible. And the animations are sick as hell. My favorite that never got old is the Superman throat stab. So good every time.
Give it to me. You can do with it as you will later.
I find it interesting that Mario mentioned the papal staff being better in the earth in the hands of man, but the apple, both him and Ezio are unsure how to handle this artifact. Shows the fallibility that even the assassins still possess, even if, more often than not, they do know better. And this moment of human weakness lends some aid to the atrocities Cesare will later commit. You already know. But seriously, this track could play over a trash can rolling down a construction zone in New York, and I'd feel moved. And also, it helps that this game came out back when seeing Ubisoft Presents still excited us. Man, after all of AC2 and cute little moments like this, really makes his death hurt more. I remember being a kid playing this when I was 10, and riding the horse into Monteriggioni was mind-blowing. The things we take for granted nowadays.
No one in this town walks with such bearing. I'm certain Ezio Auditore himself would be impressed.
Oh? What do you know of Ezio?
Oh, smooth, Ezio.
But he rarely visits her. From what I gather, he's distant.
She is right. I have been.
Double smooth.
Now about earning my silence.
And this was about the last we see of Ezio's womanizing, which is fine, because though he slows down, his charm never wavers. And it's to be expected. With his age and the stakes about to be raised to the roof, our man goes through some wonderful maturing. I want to talk about all of Ezio's journey just as I desired in the Assassin's Creed 2 video, but I should save it for Revelations. Or Embers, if I feel so inclined to really touch all of his story.
We do not want to waste your time.
It is not any trouble. I have all the time in the world now.
Seeing him so content, Mario mentioning their work being over wouldn't be so bad, and the Contessa lying in wait, they really are just setting up all the dominoes to knock Ezio down.
Do not spend as much time in battle as your Uncle Mario.
My battles have already been won.
See what I mean? And this line makes me kind of sad because from the age of 17, Ezio has been fighting and only got to enjoy 9 peaceful years with Sofia after he retired.
Tell me how it ended with Borgia. Did Rodrigo beg forgiveness? Make excuses? Promise power in return?
No, none of those things.
Okay, maybe I was a little harsh on early AC because I really like what they do with Rodrigo's character here. He changed a lot from his mustache twirling in AC2. Shall I win every time Ezio's family is played? Yes, I shall. And maybe it's playing as Ezio's thinking about a future with Katarina.
Ready to go again?
You don't need to ask.
One should always have the freedom to choose.
Spoken like a true assassin. And good guy Ezio protecting her. Am I thinking about it too hard? Always. But nothing in art is done without purpose, intentional or not. Ezio mounts a white horse, which represents death, which he brings upon the Borgia. This might be the best in-universe reason for losing all of our sweet, sweet gear from the previous game. Surely better than God of War, where they say, "F it, go to hell and start over." Literally. Just a special win for all the kill chains that use Ezio's gun.
Give me the gun his friend fashioned for us!
Ooh, some little Leonardo working for the Borgia hints. Now, that's just some great art design there, seeking the shots between Mario and Ezio, not showing us Mario's head being turned into the Vipers, but focusing on the important part, Ezio's reaction to it. And also, like, showing that our main character just took a bullet.
Let me through! I must go help the troops!
At least our man never lied. He said the troops. Never specifically said ours.
Lucy, I can't seem to get a position on Ezio's PoE.
PoE? Could one of you tell me what's going on?
Like I mentioned at the start, it's easy to forget that Desmond really is clueless. He's always plugged into the Animus and just doing the grunt work for the rest of these guys to do theirs. I mean, all of Assassin's Creed 2 takes place over 6 days, and we're opening the game on the 7th. It's really interesting to always be brought back down to earth with his character about what it looks like for him in the context of this huge story that we kind of forget about sometimes. We see how much of a toll the Animus takes on Desmond in Revelations specifically. And in real life, we're getting closer to this. Have you ever been in VR for a while and felt really disoriented when coming out of it? Now just times that by like 1,000,000. The more I think about his story, the more empathy I have for him.
Desmond's not pregnant, at least as far as I can tell. Might just have had a big lunch.
Ouch.
Desmond, that was pretty awesome.
It just felt natural.
There are different levels to how the modern day assassins work for sure, but I'm going to read this as Lucy being amazed by what true assassins are capable of since she's a Templar, and also that she's got the hots for him. Ezio straight up just murdered that guy, and I'm guessing the one behind him too. And Yubi just glosses over that fact, so I will too.
After all this time in the Animus, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything, but you're really getting fat.
Double ouch.
Ouch.
Triple ouch.
Oh, baby, a triple!
You know, when I came here last...
When Ezio came here.
Yeah, I meant Ezio.
I shouldn't put you through all this. It's not right.
They had gold with the modern day story, and I still love what they gave us, but damn do I wish so bad that there was more focus on it. I love all the character work they put into these short segments and all the implications they've built up with the rules of the Animus and how it affects people. And the possible storyline of Lucy being a double agent, falling for Desmond, going turncoat, becoming an assassin, all the mistrust they could play with, there's just so much potential there. It makes me sad.
Great. Ezio gets a bath with Katarina Sforza, and I get a swim in the toilet.
Speaking of that, he feels like he goes through all of that physically, right? Talk about a wet dream.
How come you don't have to get wet?
Because you're here.
Charming.
Aren't I?
These two have so much chemistry. It's not even fair. It could just be Nolan North and Kristen Bell making me want more of the modern day story because they are killing it throughout these tunnels.
Good. Let me just go and get that bridge down for you.
I did the last one.
And I'm sure that will be your last one.
Haha, very funny.
Man, I know it's just the climbing in Nolan North, but damn am I getting Uncharted vibes, and that's 100% a compliment.
They smell like you swam through a sewer.
It was Lucy's idea.
It's not just those two that are rocking the chemistry game. This entire group was the best in the short time we had them.
As you may have noticed in the van, I've made some improvements to the Animus.
Diegetic reason for the graphics and HUD improving. I played all of that because it is just so beautiful. Jesper Kid once again delivers with a score just as fitting and memorable as Assassin's Creed 2. I also love that it's titled Echoes of Roman Ruins. This voice sounds like a eulogy to a bygone era as the Renaissance is ushering in a new one for the city. And to make this even better, in this song they are singing Latin, saying Omnia Licica, which roughly translates to everything is permitted. Jesper is so freaking good. And with the song being Echoes of Roman Ruins and this game from my childhood, for me it's like an anthem echoing back to those carefree days where I could just play and not be stricken with the everyday trappings we so often find ourselves in. And listening to it is a reminder to not take this life for granted, but on the same token, too seriously. We're all just trying our best to build our own meaning and place in this world, and who are we to try and tear anyone down in that process? Sorry, I had a bit of a stroke there. I'm supposed to talk about Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. I completely understand why these are the robes that have endured as outfits in later games. When I think of Ezio's robes, it's these ones. And you might be thinking, once you level up your recruit to Master Assassin, they wear the same ones, so they're not that special. And that's what I love so much about them. Ezio mentions many times that he built this Brotherhood to last without him, and so his attire doesn't place his importance above anyone else, speaking to his enduring humility. And also, these robes look like the love child between Altair's OGs and Giovanni's with a bit of Machiavellian flair. These three men really shaped who Ezio has and would become, and it shows in these robes. What about Mario, may ask? He's just a cool uncle that shows up and then disappears, and sadly for him, it's forever. But then they had to ruin them by forcing those Roman spalders onto us, and I'm still not forgiving them for this.
Someone my age in the Chile. Beck.
A quick setup and punchline. And also Ezio's probably realized that the Doctor might be onto something. Some more humility? Neat that they use their multiplayer models for a lot of assassination targets, and I bring this up only to sing the praises of the possibly most unique multiplayer experience I've ever had. Murderous Pursuits was close, but it lacked a lot of the polish and atmosphere the AC ones did. My only hope for AC Infinite is that they bring this back in some capacity because even though it was hard, it was so much fun.
I thought you had sent for me.
Never.
Machiavelli grooming Ezio as head of the assassins is mostly what Brotherhood is for, and I love it, especially that he plays so coy every time he helps Ezio from the shadows. I'm saying it again, as this is the last of their majesty you get to see. I love these robes.
While you're in my debt, perhaps you will listen to reason.
As soon as I hear some, I will let you know.
So respectfully slapping him in the face.
Is that admiration I hear in your voice?
He knows how to exercise his will. A rare virtue in the world today.
This sparring match between these two men is brilliant to see, and shows just how far Ezio has come if you can keep up with Machiavelli.
You are right. We need to send a signal. Wait here.
And thus, the Ubisoft outposts were born. For better or worse.
I intend to heal the sickness, not treat its symptoms.
Ezio is always full of nuggets of wisdom.
Stop sparring with me.
Fine. Let us talk openly then.
And Ezio actually wins this bout with Machiavelli.
It's like building on the
You are wrong. Our belief in humanity rests at the heart of the Assassin Brotherhood.
It's a fair plot that Mach has sided with the Templars, and scenes like this help set it up fairly well. Though I never bought it, and this narrative runs on copious amounts of borrowed time, I was still intrigued to see how it played out. Again, with the color palette used in Brotherhood. Of the Ezio Trilogy, it's the absolute best. Assassin's Creed 2 being devoid of color, ACR doubling down to the more neutral tones of Constantinople, this game feels like a small love letter to Rome. Each district has its own color and feel, all the landmarks recreated with impressive detail and, like minigames, effectively shrinking down the city without it being jarring. We get the return of Assassin's Tombs in the form of Romulus layers, and these platform levels are always a nice break from the stealth and combat encounters we find permeating the main game.
We can get to our destination rapidly without encountering resistance.
Diegetic fast travel.
What about the city's thieves? Do they have a guild?
Si, but they refuse to talk to us. I don't know why.
Volpe murder plot shadowing.
Ezio Auditore!
Bartolomeo Del Viano! Glad to have the scuba back.
Where is she?
Did you check behind the table?
Ezio said we were all thinking.
Ezio, let me get straight to the point. The fight is not going well.
Bart and his wife are couple goals. They love each other to the ends of the earth and fill what the other might lack. Bart's got the brawn, but Pentasileia's got the brain, so to speak. Every time Ezio does this, it's a flex.
Ezio, we sent those luridi codardi running for the hills.
Yes, we did.
Oh, that little exchange they have.
I'll do it.
You do not belong here, Claudia.
I know how to run a business. I ran Uncle Mario's for years.
This is different.
Remember when I said Ezio was driven by family all of AC2? Once again, we're seeing his own self-flagellation over not saving his brothers and father drive a wedge between him and Claudia. It is coming from a good place, but...
You do this, Claudia, and you are on your own.
I've been on my own for 20 years.
Oof. Now that line about Ezio being distant from his distant hookup strikes. Oh, heck yeah, Jesper. Bring it back that beautiful courtesan theme.
Anything else?
No. Ezio.
Did you find Caterina?
We are working on it.
Bene.
Dang, you hear that bite in Ezio's voice? And him just shutting out Claudia, just trying to get the business? You'd be forgiven if you forgot that these two are family.
Ezio.
Nice to see Volpe still got it and can sneak up on our man.
Then rip them down. You can pay the heralds a few florins to silence them.
Or I can eliminate witnesses.
You know how to disappear.
Quickly tutorializing notoriety while not discrediting Ezio or the player's knowledge.
We need to make sure the Borgias stay away. Perhaps it could look like an inn.
And what do underpaid soldiers like to do on their time off? I'll say that it's a keep your enemies closer type situation, staying right under their nose.
I can't imagine how you did it.
Virtù, Machiavelli.
Virtù?
Mach says this out loud to himself like it's a thought that never crossed his mind. It's also a bit of a dig from Ezio, as he's got the seed planted that Mach might be a traitor. Additionally, on the fact that Mach wanted Rodrigo dead, and Ezio politely declines this desire at every turn. Nope. Nah, I'm good on that. As if I needed more reasons to not like this guy. Sure, she's a consenting adult too, but when you dig into their histories, he's just preying upon her. It's this guy.
And he might need some convincing when he returns.
That shouldn't be a problem, should it?
And then add on using and coercing her.
Alright, stay here. That key is as good as mine.
I'm not going anywhere.
I love his little smirk.
Please, continue. I did not mean to interrupt.
Always a gentleman.
Don't you dare.
There's his payback for only sleeping with him for political reasons.
Machiavelli, meet me outside. take care of her.
Even though he knows they won't be together, he's still sweet on her.
Their lies will no longer mask your truth.
So, speak your f***ing truth.
Basically, the assassins.
The man from the castle came with guards and arrested us. He scared me.
They are scary. But you look very brave.
Oh, Ezio's hushed tone and meeting this boy where he's at. This is why we love you, Ezio. And further, Roger Craig Smith, who, once again, is killing it with his acting. Finally, no QuickTime event that can make me feel terrible if I miss it and spend 2 hours reloading save just to hug him.
What do they want?
War machines. I have constructed weapons for all the Borgia guards and other terrible monstrosities besides.
This is what video games are all about. A lot of these inventions were never actually realized, just designs laid out by Leo. But here we have some of the best side missions AC has on offer. Yo, seriously though, why does Assassin's Creed Brotherhood have good dead zones? Like, I recently played through Uncharted, a shooter at its core, with some of the worst aiming I've ever experienced. And this game isn't even a shooter. Oh, hell yeah.
I wish you would stay.
You are the leader of the assassins now. Unite them, Ezio Auditore, and take back Roma.
God damn it, another great placement of Ezio's family. Remember how I talked at length in Assassin's Creed 2 about the Creed being his new family? This game cements that.
Once I kill the banker, your girls must take his money back to the underground.
Fine.
Stay alert.
He still cares though.
I will have his money momentarily. Not good enough.
Money always has a way of screwing things up.
We have to go, Luigi, or we'll be late.
Yes, they got a Luigi in here somewhere.
Kill him.
No.
Ezio's a man of quality, willing to risk the entire mission to save this one man.
We did not agree to conquer Italia.
Here's the start of learning of this new Rodrigo. After getting his second lease on life, he seemed to have grown and learned a lot, and put down his Templar desires and just fill his role as Pope. And honestly, love this for Rodrigo.
You risk upsetting the delicate balance of control we have worked so hard to tighten.
And on the surface, this sounds like some Templar jargon, but I see it as Ezio and himself having a mutual understanding and meeting halfway. After all, Ezio had plans to just relax and just be after their altercation, and Rodrigo was also planning the same. Either the banker is hung or he's compensating. Something tells me he's got a dicky do. Urban Dictionary if you're curious.
What?
My sister knows how to wield a knife.
And I am ready to do it again.
Spoken like a true auditore.
And now that Ezio sees that she can handle herself, they're all PG. It was a rushed start that kind of makes Ezio seem shitty for not believing in his sister to be capable, but I don't know. I can't blame him for seeing the way she cried over Duccio. I'm kidding. I'm excited to see her become an assassin and join the rings. It's all great.
Who goes there?
Salve to you too.
Ezio! I was expecting my wife.
They seem so happy, pulling little jump pranks like this on each other.
They seem to be getting closer.
The situation is under control.
Close the gates!
Bene, so maybe I could use a little help.
Then we need to liberate several suits of French armor. At dawn, we are going to walk right in.
Man, the Trojan horse just can't escape our media anywhere, can it? So I counted like 18 times and only see 18 troops, and Ezio's armor making 19. We needed 20 from the last mission. I'm guessing he secured a spare in case Bart wouldn't agree to surrendering.
They speak French.
There were a couple of French girls in Firenze.
That little giggle. Womanizing seems to have paid off.
You savages never learn.
Ezio's like, savages? I got a gun too, bitch.
I only wanted respect.
Respect is earned, not inherited or purchased.
Perhaps you are right. I need more time.
Man, sometimes I feel bad for these guys we kill, as when confronted with death, they finally realize the error of their ways. Always too late. I've recently become reacquainted with death, and the way it shifts your perspective should not be taken lightly. It's something I try to remind myself about every day, as with each passing one, I may forget and become comfortable, complacent, and regress into my not best self. And it's so interesting because we all know death awaits us at the end, and to see all the hoops we jump through to evade it can be so silly and horrid. We see both sides of this displayed in Ezio and Cesare. One building something for others to use once he's gone and forgotten, and the other who is doing everything he can to take everything in his limited time and be remembered for it after he's gone.
The man is an actor, and he is performing in a play stanotte.
This man's voice gives me, I don't know, hope?
Who are you?
Your savior.
Get it? Because he's holding Jesus?
I'm simply a poor actor.
Cesare knows about you and Lucrezia.
And he was being honest. He's a very poor actor. Even if I didn't already know the truth, I wouldn't have believed him.
You are the traitor.
I like that the traitor came from Volpe's own men. He was so eager to pin Mach as the traitor, he was blind to see that it was those among him who conspired. And I mean, what did he expect? No honor among thieves, right? And here's Jesper's other track that rivals Venice Rooftops the way Echoes does Ezio's family.
This is good news.
More than you know. What debt is there amongst friends who trust one another?
God, what a man.
It has been far too long since we've talked.
I love that. They've been interacting all game, but never had I.
Mario, our father, the brother, once stood around this fire.
Okay, either I'm an idiot or this is the first time they mentioned Federico was also an assassin. It makes sense, but damn, I wasn't expecting it.
You will now be known as Il Mentore, the guardian of our order and our secrets.
Where other men blindly follow the truth, remember, nothing is true.
He never asked for it, but the second he's given the position, he knows exactly what to do.
You better not stop telling me what you think. Why else would I seek the opinion of my most trusted advisor?
And that's so important why Ezio's just the best. Never one to take everything on his own shoulders and listen to those around him.
I intend to write a book about you one day.
If you do, make it short.
You see, we're thinking, oh wow, Ezio's so humble and the greatest. I just love that guy. He is just, chef's kiss. But in reality, Ezio's just illiterate and doesn't want to read a big book about him.
Cesare! He intends to poison you!
Rodrigo is now de facto assassin. How poetic. Rodrigo pined after the apple all of last game and now dies because of one. Which lines up with history, as technically Rodrigo died of the illness via the poison in the apple. Both of these men became ill at the same time, and Cesare recovered as the Pope did not.
I know. I know where that bastard is going.
Enemy of my enemy. It's pretty neat that we finally get to use the apple. Dang, do you just feel invincible with it.
Insieme per la vittoria! Vittoria agli assassini!
Okay, they really do just montage this final sequence and the push against Cesare, which I can only imagine was from a budget and time constraint, as this game was only a year after Assassin's Creed 2. But I like it, and it keeps the pacing at a maximum as we close in around Cesare and see everything crumble around him. Oh my god, it's that guy? I totally forgot about him. Way to Gandalf charge, Fabio, I guess.
What do you intend to do?
Plant a seed.
And keeping the pacing up, we don't gotta follow Ezio when he drops off the apple, since we've seen that through the bleeding effect. And we just get a quick little scene for it. So, got bing bang boom, we just keep moving along just like I'm not with this script. And finally, Ezio has the wisdom to do with the apple what he should have at the start of the game, and is understanding it and his purpose regarding the Isu storyline.
And take the money. On your meager salary, you will need it.
My patron has been arrested after all.
And Ezio's white horse died, symbolic to the fact that Ezio does not see himself as executioner and will leave Cesare's life up to fate.
Che nessuno ricordi il tuo nome.
And that is so important to these differing ideologies. No one will remember your name, and it's about how they look at that phrase. For Ezio, the thought is liberating, and for Cesare, damning. I mean, here we are talking about him, so Ezio was wrong, but he's not remembered fondly, so... And Cesare in real life was killed by some random skirmishers that didn't even know who he was. Not even granted a warrior's death, and here he is given that same treatment.
The throne was mine!
And this was the competing memory that was blocking their access to finding out where the apple is. When technically speaking, we should have seen where the apple was placed beforehand. And it was this distress over Cesare that was conflicting with the memories, thus forcing Desmond to relive the end of Cesare to clear the block to Ezio to know where the apple is. As keeping away from it was Ezio's prime goal. Is it kind of contrived just to see the ending of Cesare? Maybe, but it fits in the rules of the Animus, so I dig it.
I am! The Tetragrammaton, the 72 names of God. You see? They're all contained within 3 verses, Exodus 19 through 21.
This kind of stuff is why we loved AC back in the day. They had always hidden stuff like this around just for us players to explore, find, and theorize the meaning behind them. Sure, Sean lays out this one for us here, but there's so many other cases of you be just throwing stuff in there and being like,
figure it the out.
All the world is innocent once more. Innocent and ignorant.
Man, they really knew what they wanted to do with Juno with these first 3 games. Already planting the seeds about her not wanting to continue the cycle that this version of humanity has been going through over and over again.
But his reach is so very long. His stamina, unending. We cannot evade his grasp. Not forever.
And she's talking about time. And she's 100% right. This is fun. That is all. And hell, this track is so beautiful. It makes me feel like everything's gonna be okay. okay? But you want to know what makes it even better? There's more Latin in the song, and it roughly translates to Holy Age for the Kingdom of Rome. Roughly. And that's exactly where we are right now. It doesn't add much, and you have to dig for it to even find it, but it's the care and artistry for these little things that add up into beautiful works of art, because that's what video games are at the end of the day, and I don't care what anyone says. And as we leave behind Ezio, Rome, and everything that led to this moment, we are greeted by Kid's very electronic music produced for just this one room, ushering in the vastly superior Isu.
You with 5 senses, us with 6.
And that 6th sense is Eagle Vision, which lies in everyone, but only comes out when the Isu blood runs through the veins of a human.
I know this, I know that symbol. That's a Phrygian cap. It stands for freedom, and that's a Masonic eye.
You could see these two as opposing symbols. One, freedom of course, and the other, the Eye of Providence, which is the watchful eye of God. The one who we can never have true freedom from, no matter how hard we try. And those two ideas are at the core of Assassin's Creed identity, so of course they just throw them out there and be like, oh, Sean's gonna make a big connection, and just leave it up to us to figure out what that connection is. And I actually kind of like that, because this conversation, like I mentioned in the Assassin's Creed 3 video, there's not really an answer to it, and I would love if anyone could figure it the f out, because life's hard.
There is one who would accompany you through the gate. She lies not within our sight.
So I can only think that she's talking about Desmond's choice right at the end. They can only see as far as that choice right there, and it's up to him whether he chooses Minerva or Juno. You hear that music used for the Templars playing over this as we are, well, on our way to root one out from our midst. They were so close to winning this moment, and it's reflected in the music as Desmond tries to resist.
It is done.
Now that was a freaking unexpected turn of events that I'm sure none of us saw coming.
Only she remains to be found. Awaken the 6th.
So she's talking about Juno. This was just some weird third-person talk from her. This huge mind-bending monologue that we can't understand, and killing off one of our principal characters, and then they just go to credits! I want to call it a bold move, but it's not like they killed Ezio or something, and it was actually really smart to give us such a massive cliffhanger to build hype for the next game. I remember waiting on the edge of my seat for Revelation's midnight release, so it worked. Man, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. Like I mentioned many times, this game was my childhood. I put so many hours into this game and 100%ed it many times. It was kind of like all the stars aligning for Ubisoft right here. This was before they were a company to be hated, before social media warped our perceptions on everything, before this kind of open world was a dime a dozen and not unique. But when it was released, it really was one of a kind. Taking everything they learned from AC2, improving upon it, and perfecting it. The only place you could argue they didn't improve on is the story, but I've got mine ready. It achieves everything a sequel should when being created. Improve upon the last, obviously, but push the narrative forward in meaningful ways to justify its existence. Ezio doesn't have much growth compared to AC2, but he takes everything he learned in the previous game and puts it into action here. We watch this man grow up, and now we get to watch him mature. And this maturation is different from the one he went through in the first game, as he isn't learning about the Creed and how to follow it and what's right, but how to lead and groom it and take all of his learnings into action for the future generations. Which is really important for the quest he goes on in the next game, which I'll give you my entire thoughts and analysis of his arc there. So subscribe to see that soon. When it comes to the modern day, wow. It was such an improvement over the previous games, mostly because of the mind-boggling ending, but also the quieter moments, as you can exit the Animus whenever you like. Favorite of mine is the "What's the matter you out there?" And the following banter really just makes you feel like these guys are a real group of friends, not just co-workers that care about each other. And these little interactions make Lucy's death and betrayal at the end sting even more. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood was for me the pinnacle of the Ezio Trilogy, as it had everything we wanted. Revelations was just more of Brotherhood, which is absolutely fine, but we had it all here for the first time. A great open world, a fun new story to follow Ezio through, some really good progress on what they were wanting to do with the modern day story. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood to me is an AC classic and a blast to play through, and doesn't feel nearly as dated as AC2 does, so I recommend replaying this one even today, as it's much more palatable than 2 from a gameplay perspective. I'm super excited to do the Revelations video, and most likely an Embers video, as this trilogy defined my childhood, and I just want to be able to let loose about my feelings on Ezio without having to explain or everything, because it's just, gone through a whole story, and it's all right there, right for you. You know what I'm saying? I'm really excited to make that video for you guys, but until then, I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you so much for supporting me and letting me do this as a job. Things are a little stressful right now, but we're still kicking through it. And it's insane that this is really a thing that we've been doing together for almost 2 years now. Remember, drive the speed limit, drink some water, and love one another. Pizza, baby. This is hands down the best motif right here next to Ezio's family to have ever come from an AC game. It is so pretty, and the way Jesper and Lorne use it as a leitmotif throughout the game will not go unnoticed.
The Animus will do its part, and Desmond will do the rest.
We get a small through line of Will never believing in Desmond, but here he's got some faith in him, so faith. The most glaring change from the previous games is how drenched this game is with darkness. Ezio's robes, the Animus HUD, even Desmond's make-believe attire has changed to black, representing of course the Animus going into safe mode, and more importantly how dire the stakes have become for Desmond and how he's handling killing Lucy. This darkness can also be associated with Ezio becoming older and fits in the theme way better of working in the dark.
Just walk right past me. 16?
Yo, bringing 16 into the game really makes it feel like it's the end of the line. There's been so much mystique built up about him throughout the first three, and now we finally get to meet the man. Thank God they finally just have us follow along automatically when talking. This might be the biggest upgrade Revelation's made.
The Animus can separate Desmond from Ezio and Altair and send you home.
This is what the bleeding effect has all been building up to, finally reaching a breaking point when touching the apple. I will continue to sing the praises of the modern day story because Ubi went through great lengths to create this super interesting lore surrounding the Animus and how it affects people. And Desmond's mind shattering under what is it basically trying to decode two consciousnesses at the same time makes total sense. I mean, hell, sometimes our brains get overwhelmed just trying to order a coffee at Starbucks, let alone processing everything Ezio has gone through as if it's yourself. So why is 16 in Rebecca's Animus? The core Lucy stole was the same one that he hacked at Abstergo with the hopes of warning and helping his successor, aka Desmond. Something I've yet to mention in all my AC videos is that Abstergo is a Latin verb for I cleanse. Pretty on the nose with that one, Henry Ford. What, you didn't know that he apparently is the one that founded Abstergo and is a Templar? So this is the same sequence used for the trailers way back in the day. Freaking great use of resources, I'd say.
The men and women who have fed and sheltered me here.
That's about the best reason we get for his new robes. But like, he's been traveling for months and some bright white robes aren't gonna cut it. Ooh, what a shot having the Templars step all over what was at the time like Assassin Holy Land. I know CGR trailers are like impossible to have run in an engine for gameplay, but like, is that what the future generations will have in store for us? I'd tear my ass out and eat it if a game looked like this trailer one day. Oh yes, sir. So how can Ezio see Altair here? One reason is that Desmond, being Ezio, sees Altair as his memories are all jumbled. The more fun answer is the memory sealed from the libraries connecting with Ezio because of his DNA, and it's actually him way back in the 16th century seeing Altair. And like, just how cool is it for everything we know as Assassin's Creed to all converge in one game? I'm not gonna lie, I've never played AC1, and part of me never wants to. I know the story and what happens, but since I've never been him, I share the same mystique everyone else holds for Altair, and I don't want to lose that because of some dated gameplay. Man, we just can't start one of these older games with two hidden blades, can we? In-universe reason, though.
Do not seek retribution or revenge in my memory, but fight to continue the search for truth.
I think I've said this in every Ezio video, but how can you not love him? This is probably my favorite performance from Roger Craig Smith, and time to see Ezio finally wise enough to see past his vengeance goggles. And he sees Altair from the first game, and notice that cape-clad bald guy is like, what the f*** are you looking at?
My story is one of many thousands, and the world will not suffer if it ends too soon.
Yes and no. If you're curious what I mean by that, check out the end of my conclusion of the AC4 video. Still a great line though. Hey, don't touch the hood. Anyone remember being a kid, gaining a new personality after playing these games and desperately trying to look this cool in a hood? Ezio's new threads. Fitting for the old timer, but got some really neat details. The fur on the shoulder is confirmed to be Mongolian, which is the army that attacked Masya for the final time. The white inlay pattern is of Ottoman design, and Ezio's finally leveled up his assassin brain and unlocked a full-on Altair sash. His outfit is a convergence of his travels for truth and newfound wisdom, playing into the themes this game has of it, Desmond's brain, Altair, and Ezio. I mean, hell, Istanbul is called the crossroads of the world. Is this the dumbest thing I've ever seen? Absolutely. How do you know about the water? Does it take away from how cool it is? Not one bit.
His door is guarding objects more valuable than all the gold in the world.
Oh, do you mean gemstones?
I'm so amazed Ezio was able to not roll his eyes into the back of his head. That's why he's the mentor, not me. I hope you enjoy seeing this man's face everywhere, because if I'm to take things literally, which I always do, he's been a busy man with the ladies, if you feel me.
The assassin must not get his hands on that book!
Yo, Ezio. Sounds like dropping Cesare off the walls didn't do the trick. So the parachute wasn't invented until 1783, but it was conceived of by Leonardo da Vinci, and the pyramid shape isn't just Ubisoft trying to save on geometry memory, but was in actual sketches from Leo's Codex Atlanticus. Gosh darn, their retool of this game's theme is so hype. We get a nice tilted camera for Ezio's wounded state.
Could it be that you are every bit as deadly as the legends say? Or am I in charge of an army of drunks swinging sticks?
Yes, and also, yes.
I don't think I have the right genes to properly wield it.
That's why we can't plug Will into the Animus.
I keep the Animus distracted as best I can. For you.
Even when he's not a real person, he's still an assassin at heart, which is so cool because he made that choice all on his own. No one recruited him. It wasn't a part of his heritage. He saw what the Templars were doing, and though his mind couldn't handle reality anymore, did and is doing everything he can to not have Desmond end up like him and let Abstergo win.
My guardian angel.
There's no such thing.
Yeah, Thanks.
Funny because it was his glyphs that he left behind that showed us the Adam and Eve cutscene in AC2. That cutscene recontextualizes the story of Adam and Eve with an omniscient God to the east. Hence, in this world, them knowing that story, as we know today, is just all hooey. All that to say, no angels. Which throws us down the entire rabbit hole of Cain and Abel and how Cain killed Abel to get his apple of Eden in this world and subsequently created the Templars, and that it's really interesting stuff about how Ubi has retooled the Bible and the lore.
Well, to be precise, that is Europa. That is Asia.
How cool that the first line out of Suleiman is correcting Ezio, the man we expect to have all the answers. Speaks to how influential and magnificent he is / was. Suleiman in history is remembered as one of the greatest rulers of his time, and he ushered in the golden age of Constantinople.
When I was a child, my father told me stories about the fall of Constantinople.
You must mean the conquest of Constantinople.
And once again, this will be an enduring quality throughout for Suleiman, and I really enjoyed all his interactions with Ezio as he doesn't fall on the Assassin or Templar side, and threads his beliefs between them, which is probably the best way to end their feud, if I'm being honest.
Students like me, or travelers such as yourself.
That little pause tells me that Suleiman recognizes Ezio as not being 100% forthright, but knows there's no need to pressure the issue.
Work? When I was your age, my interests were mainly salve.
Some things never change. So the Turkish spoken in this game isn't Ottoman Turkish like was spoken at the time, and this was a choice from Ubi in hopes to introduce people to the language as we speak it today.
Ezio Auditore da
Yusuf was the greatest underutilized new character in Revelations. He was so much fun and would have loved to see him more.
Da Firenze.
They just had to put in that hand gesture, didn't they?
These men are remnants of a line loyal to the cause of the last emperor, Constantine XI.
Revelations, I feel, leans much more heavily on the history of the city more than any games previous, using all these names and figures from history that directly influences the story. With all the different names, dates, and different empires rolling around on their spoke, it got me really interested in learning more about what happened around this period, which is, of course, a huge point these older games wish to do, spark our interest in history.
Shahane!
Now we can finally get those awful checkpoints guards set up when we're being chased.
The standard Ottoman hook blade has two parts, you see.
Oh, really? I'm really interested to hear exactly what those two parts could be. My mind is scrambling in wonder.
The hook and the blade.
Oh, thank God for that explanation. Would have never guessed, Yusuf. The hook blade really does make a monumental difference in climbing that, after Revelations, I don't really want to go back without it. When Yusuf mentions it being an extension of your arm, Ubi really achieves that feeling. Ubi is also on record using this as their excuse as to why Ezio at the ripe age of 50 can still climb around with the best of them.
Çabuk buraya gel. Huh? How is your appetite for swordplay?
I do what I must.
Lines like these is why Old Man Ezio is my favorite. Ziplines were something that Ubi had been wanting to do for a while, and the 7 hills the city was built on was the perfect excuse to add them in naturally. So, the tower defense. You either love it or you hate it. I love tower defense games, so this was a treat, and you're never forced into them other than this one time. It feels great as a part of Ezio's arc of mentor, commanding all these assassins and working together. Anytime we're shown his age, I'm happy because it doesn't happen often. Eagle vision has been vastly improved, finally feeling like the detective vision from Arkham we've always wanted it to be. The perfect in-universe reason for this would be Ezio finally perfecting his ability through his many years of training.
What if I went with you?
With me? That's not going to happen. I'm sorry.
No.
I guess I had my chance.
So I believe he's talking about taking over Desmond's body before he had regained some kind of foothold in the Animus. Good guy Clay for asking for consent.
I just find this whole situation quite sad. Sad? Are you finally getting soft on us, Bill?
Hearing the way Will is throughout the game and getting more into him in 3, Desmond's lack of ambition and settling at a bar seems to make sense. Will seemed to be really cold to Desmond, possibly following the assassin dogma in not the best way, pushing Desmond away in the process.
Don't touch that. One wrong move and bang, the building comes down.
Are you serious?
The look on your face.
Does seeing this make you sad, knowing his fate? Makes me sad. Imagine Uncle Yusuf coming to see Flavia.
The Secret Crusade by Niccolo Polo.
This is actually an AC novel that you can purchase and read.
You must be that Floranza he's been yammering on about. Lothario?
Lothario, from what I could find, is a term given to a man who behaves selfishly and irresponsibly in his sexual relations with women. It's a bit of a stretch, but this could be some subtle foreshadowing to putting Sophia in harm's way later in the game, especially considering this man pointed Ezio in her direction. Finally, Ezio wears his hood down much more, and it's cute that it's only when he's with Sophia.
You're beginning to interest me. Vaguely.
Flirting and playing hard to get.
Are you hurt?
Why does Altair suddenly have an accent? Animus Tech sucked at Abstergo, and this is an actual recording from Altair that we are living through Ezio as Desmond. Don't get confused. Some real Inception stuff like here. And I actually prefer it. Same voice actor, but way more fitting than his voice in AC1.
And Al-Mualim.
So this is just my conjecture through my research. Altair and Mualim's names seem to be directly derived from the founders of assassins in the 11th century. Allah ibn Alathir and Ada Malik Giovanni. Their names and time periods are so close, it can't be a coincidence. Gotta say, his updated robes are looking spicy in this game.
You offered him a chance to salvage his dignity. Why?
No man should pass from this world without knowing some kindness.
So it was Altair that started the trend for the assassins, and that's freaking awesome. Revelations for me did a lot of legwork to really make me like this man.
Peace be with you.
And everyone said, and with your spirit.
Minstrels from Italia. I am going to enjoy this.
Finally some payback for all those hours of them rushing us down to the streets.
While traveling through Forli, I took her at her leisure. She said it's strictly business. Such business was my pleasure.
Every single song is so funny, and there are so many. There's one talking about dropping Cesare off the wall and Vieri being a bitch. Who knew Roger Craig Smith could sing so well as Ezio?
Suleiman, the Sultan's grandson and governor of Kefe. And he's only 17.
The same age Ezio was when he started being an assassin.
Is this man bothering you, Sophia?
Excuse me, mister, but the lady and I are...
Ah, Duccio. Still hasn't changed. His attitude? Or his clothes. I like that they forced their platforming levels into the main game, instead of being optional for the super cool badass armor of the game. And Ubi didn't keep the same foiler for the Ishka Pasha armor. Instead, we've got to collect these memoir pages, which is a nice change of pace. How cool that we get to pick up years later, just moments after the first game ended.
Walk with me, Abbas, and I will explain.
Abbas sounds awfully a lot like Abyss. Abbas led to Creed into an Abyss, no?
You bend the rules to suit your whims.
This is a theme we see play out among Altair and Ezio in Revelations. There's never really any conclusion to it other than graying up the Assassin's Creed, such as when Ezio bombs the hidden city and uses the protesters to get inside the arsenal. Both things any true assassin would not do. Oh, that look. Boy's excited to show her his new book.
It is a good likeness, don't you think?
I prefer the original.
Smooth as ever. And this painting is actually real. It's Venetian Woman by Albrecht Dürer. Ubi saw this and was inspired to base Sophia's likeness off her. Is this just a hold forward and win set piece? Yes. Is it fun as hell? Yes.
Altair! No!
Man, that is a terrible way for your woman to die. Technically, it's her fault, but of course he's going to blame himself. He can control that man, but once Maria stopped him, he lowered his control over the man, and he stabbed her. So why the heck does Dareem look like 16? I looked everywhere, and there's no good reason, because 16 is not related to Altair in any way that I could find, which is why they needed Desmond. But I'm happy to headcanon that in some way these two men share a family tree, which is why 16 was so entwined with Desmond in this game.
Destroy them, if you can.
You have done well, Tariq. Forgive me.
I love that through all his wisdom and experience, even Ezio still fails here and there.
See, it is a subtle way to seek revenge.
Talking about the writings, Ezio's probably like, damn, I could have just done this instead of jumping through hoops to kill someone for mine.
It is a 5 or 6 day ride from here, and I will need an escort.
Prego.
Oh, I'm sorry. You are a busy man.
I love their theme. It's so cute and light, and I caught myself humming it while working on this video. And again, Ezio's so smooth, knowing exactly what she's implying, but playing it cool. This is the cutest thing I've ever seen. She knows he's busy and snaked her way into getting a picnic with him, even making him get her flowers, whether he knew it or not.
Any luck with the final code?
Ah, the code, see. I solved it many hours ago. You will get it soon enough.
What a way to steal some extra time from your man.
Do you remember Tarek, the Janissary? The man you quarreled with?
Ah, playing coy did not arouse suspicion. What a G. Just walking up to Masyaf, not worried about a single soldier killing him, and having so much pull to get his brothers and sisters back on his side.
2 decades have passed since we last saw you within these walls. We could use your wisdom. Now more than ever.
Neat. Having the Animus regard this man as an enemy just until we're in striking range, and then he says this.
That is true, Abbas. I learned many things from the apple. Of life and death. Of the past and the future. Let me show you.
Big dick energy. Just some attention to detail having him roll down the stairs even when they're not present.
The assassins were his life, from beginning to end. He had no other.
Watching Altair's life and relationship with the assassins morph and change, and meeting Sophia were the 2 big turning points for Ezio deciding to lay down his part in the Creed. Anyone else remember losing their marbles at this set piece when it was shown before Revelations came out?
Yours is not a subtle approach.
See. Sorry for the delay.
Always cool as a cucumber.
See. Sorry for the delay.
Doesn't those horns sound like the beginning of the Transformers film theme? I'm only bringing this up because the score in that trilogy had no reason to pop off the way it did. AC reminded me of that.
What's it like spending your whole life avoiding hard decisions?
Foreshadowing his choice in AC3. UB always said that they knew where the story was going to end, but they never wanted to lay out the path to get there, as having that ended sight could keep them focused but not restrict their creativity.
After the death of Christina, something withered in me.
It was the death of Christina that made Ezio keep Sophia at arm's length. I mean, for good reason. And for those that didn't do the Christina missions in Brotherhood, I bet this came as a shock. This score goes so hard. Ezio's cloak is a disguise, but it makes him look one step closer, more like Altair. Alright, this is about to be a deep cut. Does Cappadocia remind anyone of Drimsmaw from Infinity Blade? I loved those games and novels, and it was a marvel to have the game look so good on mobile.
Are you a capable fighter?
I like to think so.
Humility. Double checking to make sure he's actually dead this time.
Most of them don't actually work.
Tarek had a really good freaking plan.
These people would drown without a fair hand to lift them up and keep them in line.
There he is. The monster I came to kill.
I am here for the Masyaf keys.
Keys? Are there more than this one?
So I have heard.
Taking a page of the Suleiman's book.
So what holds me back? Why do I not take the keys to Masyaf myself and be done with these fools?
I love the use of the word fools. It flows perfectly after hearing Altair saying,
I was foolish enough to believe that our creed would bring an end to all these conflicts.
Both men slowly recognizing that this war they wage is fruitless and won't end just because of them, and that the message from the Isu is paramount. And also that they must find time to live for themselves, something Altair learned too late. I'm so sad. Man died protecting his mentor's girl. Get you a friend like Yusuf.
Brothers, sisters, the whole city rises against us, while Yusuf's murderer waits and watches from the arsenal, laughing. Fight with me, and show him what it means to cross the assassins.
You can't tell me this did not give you goosebumps. Just like Altair, Ezio has galvanized the Creed to just walk straight through his opposition. And let me tell you, after the anger I felt with Ezio about Yusuf, did it feel good just to run right in. Showing them what it really means.
People desire the truth, yes. But even when they have it, they refuse to look.
Well, yeah, nothing's more true than that, but it's their right to be a dumbass, so.
The world is a tapestry of many colors and patterns. A just leader would celebrate this, not seek to unravel it.
Were it so easy.
That is why we make laws to live by. A qanun that applies to all in equal measure.
Which is why they call Suleiman the lawgiver. Man, sometimes a villain just gotta be a funny bad guy, right? I can't believe Ezio invented parasailing. Para-driving, para-riding? Bookends. We start with a carriage chase and end with one. These men land in the graveyard, symbolic of Amet's, well, soon-to-come death, and also the death of Ezio's assassin life.
So,
it will never not amaze me how much music can elevate a scene. Throw in some generic strings or no music, and this scene feels like I kind of been there, done that. But when paired with this motif, oh, it's so cathartic. I forgot that Suleiman asked for his father's death and was confused why Ezio tried, keeping a promise. Sophia stopping Ezio parallels Maria stopping Altair.
I'm saving you, idiot!
Self-sacrifice.
And the mandate for menacing hoods? Was that his idea as well?
Sophia asking the real questions.
Nothing is true. Everything is permitted.
That is rather cynical.
It would be if it were doctrine, but it is merely an observation of the nature of reality. To say that nothing is true is to realize that the foundations of society are fragile, and that we must be the shepherds of our own civilization. To say that everything is permitted is to understand that we are the architects of our actions, and that we must live with their consequences, whether glorious or tragic.
It's so cool to hear Ezio's interpretation of the line, and Yubi to finally give some light on what exactly they mean by it. Ugh. And hearing it laid out like this is just beautiful, and made more interesting by hearing characters in later games ponder the same question, such as Edward stating, sounds like the beginning of wisdom, but it's not its final form. And it perfectly flies in the face of may the Father of Understanding guide us, putting one man on a pedestal to show us the way forward.
I do not regret those years, but it is time to live for myself.
That's so cathartic to hear, especially him having no regrets. Everything we do in our lives shapes who we are, and to look back spitefully and wish to change things is the one way ticket to unhappiness. This is why when people ask me if I could go back in time and give my younger self advice or change anything, I always say, no, I wouldn't. It's much easier for me to say that now, as I'm relatively happy and safe, and if I was in a darker place, I might change my answer. But reminding myself that we are the architects of our actions and we must live with the consequences makes me much more aware of my everyday decisions, to continue to lead a life worth living. Society, as the way we've all shepherded it to be, can make us feel trapped and helpless, but there are ways out, ways to cope with deal. And a big way to do so is with other people. Ezio found a way to cope by joining the assassins to avenge his family, and found his way out with Sophia.
Sophia, you should know by now that I am not a lesser man.
Damn, you have to be able to do a lot in your life to be able to say that and not sound arrogant. And I'd say Ezio's earned this.
You had better come out of there alive.
I plan to.
See, Hollywood? You don't have to have your characters kiss or honeymoon or all that weird stuff they do to make us believe a relationship. What a sight, truly. Altair sitting alone in his assassin robes, hidden blade still attached. Alone. What a full circle bookend moment for the series. Everything coming together. Ezio, Altair, Desmond, Masia. The story honestly could have ended here, and I wouldn't be too upset. This is still, for me, the highest point of Assassin's Creed storytelling.
Of their rise and their fall.
You might recognize this music from the AC2 Assassin's Tombs, and look where we are. Another tomb. Or an assassin.
But what happens to us, Altair? To our family? What does the apple say?
Who were the ones who came before? What brought them here?
Maria is all wrapped up with the future, but Altair is more curious about the past, what the apple is, and who are those that came before. Knowing the future for me would only bring heartache and despair, and something makes me feel like Altair feels the same way. What a transition.
I heard your name once before, Desmond. A long time ago. And now it lingers in my mind, like an image from an old dream.
God, even a decade later, Ezio talking to Desmond still gives me goosebumps.
And here at last, I discover a strange truth. That I am only a conduit for a message that eludes my understanding.
It's hard to have something to say about that other than, God damn, that's so good. Lesser men, I'd say, would be upset that the meaning of their life boiled down to being a glorified messenger, but Ezio greets it with open arms.
Who are we who have been so blessed to share our stories like this? To speak across centuries.
This feels like a meta line about the blessing and curse we all share as humans, to have consciousness and ponder our meaning, because we don't need an apple to speak across centuries. Everything we create is us sharing our stories with each other. Books, poems, movies, even this video. And that question will forever remain. Who are we to be so blessed? We will never know, but as has been a common theme among these games, is continuing the fight for truth. And we could stop that fight wherever we want, and be content like Ezio is here. He discovered his strange truth and is okay with the answer and is ready to settle.
Now, listen.
Desmond was the modern day story, and it's just not the same without him. But like, Ezio meets Desmond, that's a freaking win. Time to lose our minds. But finally, Ubisoft gives us some answers.
A strange place, this nexus of time.
Very strange. 4 vastly different time periods all colliding in this one moment to be like, hey, Earth's gonna melt. Please save. Like any good short, we need to have someone to follow. And to really feel the emotional loss behind this event, we follow a freaking mother and child. just to make it all more sad. This entire cutscene and the ending never fails to give me chills.
Less than 10,000 of your kind still lived, and far fewer of ours.
Standeth Baratheon would be proud.
I know what we need to do.
Ubisoft knew how to leave us on a cliffhanger that would have us begging for more. 3 games in a row, they had us on the hook like no other. And just like Ubisoft, I'm going to keep you on the hook for a third time about completely talking about Ezio's arc throughout these games, because Assassin's Creed Embers exists. That video is coming and may already be out by the time you watch this. There, I'm going to talk about his story from start to finish. But let's talk about Revelations, a metaphorical and literal black sheep of the Ezio trilogy. Some were tired of the samey gameplay and not much happening in the modern day as previous titles, but that wasn't the point of this game. This entire game was to finally wrap up Ezio and Altair's story so we can move on with Desmond's, and they did such a good job with it. It's a hard thing to create a trilogy of anything, and with Ezio, they did it, with something as complicated and difficult as a game at that. Revelations was exactly as the title said. Constant reveals and understanding, made better that Ezio is in the twilight of his life and is only now about to reflect and seek truth, and not be driven by revenge or contorted by the circumstance he finds himself. It's comforting to know that even at the age of 50, Ezio still doesn't have it all figured out, and he's content with that. Growing up nowadays is the worst, because before we were even 20, we were lied to constantly about everyone knowing what's going on, and that we've got to have a plan to set up our futures, and there's so much pressure, and it's just too much. And that's just not how life works. It only takes one moment for everything to change, and for Ezio, that was when his family was murdered. But that one moment could be as simple and small as a career change, a broken limb, a change in perspective. I'm not exactly sure what point I'm trying to make here, but these are more just my musings on what this game made me feel and ponder after finishing it. And maybe I feel a bit lost, because Ezio and Embers speaks on the point I can find myself drifting towards, and that being love. When nothing makes sense, the world is burning, and everything feels like it's falling apart, that has been the only thing I've personally always been able to grab onto. I imagine Desmond would grow to love Lucy if he didn't already, and when being forced to kill her is what threw him into the abyss. His mind scrambled. And who was there when he came out? His father. Though they were never perfect with each other, these two men still loved one another, and I want to say hearing his dad's voice helped them come to in the Animus. This isn't your traditional analysis or breakdown of games, themes, and narratives, I know, and for those expecting or desiring that, I am sorry. Games, movies, stories always feel like a springboard for discussion on who we are, what we want to be, and how we might want to share our experience with others. And one way or another, video games led me here. Sharing my experiences and thoughts about a game with complete strangers who also have this feeling in them about this medium of storytelling. Talk to me down below. I'd love to hear anything you guys would have to say. And hey, you guys remember what to do. Right away, this art style impresses. It's not at all trying to imitate the games and breathes a uniqueness that we've never really seen anywhere else in Assassin's Creed. JK, it's actually a lot like AC China, which stars Shao, and also shares a watercolor painterly art style. I don't blame that man for dropping his broom. The unfamiliar is super scary. This is Salvation of Forley, which you might remember from his speech during Bonfire of the Vanities. To me, this song is 100% a representation of Ezio's wisdom, and I love it more because when it's first played, it felt like he had it all figured out. And now, during his last speech, he's still figuring it out. It reminds me of what Edward said. Sounds like the beginning of wisdom, but not its final form.
To see Machiavelli's play.
Ezio, his play closed 3 weeks ago.
I missed it.
And now the heartbreak is setting in, right from the start. To see our Ezio start to be taken by age, I'm glad this exists to conclude Ezio, but gosh, it's bittersweet. Man, do I feel that. Words so often fail us, especially when writing to people we care about. Funny, I say that, as I'm trying to build a career around writing.
But farming. Really? Man of your talents?
Flavia is so cute. Even cuter thinking she could sneak up on a master assassin. And triple cuter that she's skulking around just like her entire heritage. Man, am I happy to have an excuse to do this video for a movie. I can't remember the last time I saw a dolly zoom in a video game. The camera has far too often been overlooked in games, and I love seeing reputable camera techniques used well. Of course, here, it's being used to really show us Ezio's laser-focused and concern on Shao.
Leave it alone!
Roger Craig Smith, man. 1, playing Ezio in 5 decades of his life. 2, also plays Sonic. And 3, this leave her alone sends goosebumps down my entire spine with how Roger Craig Smith delivers it. He still kind of runs in the goofy manner he always has. Oh nice, the sound effect that plays when you assassinate someone coming in for the reveal.
Go inside, Flavia.
Oh, I'm sad. The look on Flavia's face said, he's mad at me. It's my fault. And it's not! You're precious. The people working on this are definitely parents. Hey, the couple got a blown up version of Sophia, or Venetian woman, for their villa.
Would you stay for supper? Grazie.
Watching Sophia stumble with her name, she bumbles her way through some Italian. Also makes her thank you more endearing.
I started this act of my life so late, Sophia. I knew I would not have enough time to do everything. Now I worry I do not have enough time to do anything.
You hear that, everyone? Ezio's telling us to be wary of kids in your 50s. I love how consistent the design is of the villa with what we've seen in the games, such as the little handholds and the awkward lamp 2x4s. My thought process on why she's so upset here is not just because Xiao entered his study, but because not one side of him can be left untainted by the Creed. Xiao is reading over his final letter he's leaving for Sophia, a letter that should have stayed personal. Another dolly zoom as he's about to open up to Xiao, contrasting the one used as he went to attack her. Maybe I'm just an idiot, but it took me 3 times to notice what we were being shown of the disappearing man, which is just good. From location of the buildings down to the design of the characters are so on point with the game, I love it. Yeah, it was easier, of course, just do what's already been done, blah, 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 but it's very consistent and good. And it was a rush project, so no time to bring up new things, and they flubbed quite a few things. And the most egregious thing being the date of his family's death, but I'll let that slide. I just had to bring it up.
Life of an assassin is pain, Yoon, with the hope that you can help it disappear in time. A terrible irony.
It's a terrible irony, but made even more ironic and lightens it up a bit when he talks about how much love that flows in the Creed. Even in his old age, he's got to be wearing his master assassin red sash. Okay, Xiao, I see you.
It was my mentor's wish to meet you.
Damn, Ezio's legend traveled across all of Asia. He really thought he could just settle down in peace, huh?
Slow process. Many thousand cuts. Then dead.
Interesting that Ezio speeds up after being reminded of a slow death, as he knows his time is almost up.
Pack some bags. You must stay at Machiavelli's tonight.
Though my hope for Uncle Yusuf is null, it makes me happy knowing that Uncle Mock is a thing. Something tells me the kids break down his straight-laced nature. Y'all already know how much I love Echoes of Roman Ruins, and for it to come back as Ezio is picking up his past life? Damn, it's so thematically poignant. Poor Marcello, though. The only time we see him is when he's asleep, and he doesn't even appear in the carriage. I like to imagine they left him at the house, and he just slept through the entire fight.
Love binds our order together. Love of people, of cultures, of the world.
They inflict pain to secure the love for the world.
Long time.
If you do it right, see.
Damn, not even try to sugarcoat it. You can do everything right and not see the fruits of your labor. Oh, there's the poster shot. If I was 65 and seen all the things Ezio has, I don't think I'd give a f either. Xiao using the dope roll maneuver we see Marvel's Loki use all the time. The first of many kill animation callbacks we get for Ezio. The nice old spin to win. The good old hoppity stompity, your face is my boots property. And let's not forget about this takedown that Ezio uses his massive dick as leverage instead of the hook blade. And then the classic, I just stabbed you in the head. Never gets old. As if we needed a reminder, Ubisoft, we get it! Deep down, we know this dude still loves this shit.
Here. These may be of use one day.
Insane that this little box will play such a role in multiple AC games to come. This is the same precursor box we see in Rogue, that's in AC China and ACC Russia.
You should have stayed home.
I am home.
I'm gonna start freaking crying right freaking now.
Al diavolo. I hate this damn city. I wish I was in Rome. I hear the women there are...
This man has been in contention about what he really is, and from what I could find from our Ubisoft overlords is that he is just meant to be a reflection of Ezio. I mean, even down to the scars being on opposite sides of the face, just to show how far he's come. He's not a Templar, though. Whether he's real, hallucination, or anything in between doesn't matter, because it's the sentiment this interaction carries that matters. And that's just showing Ezio how far he has come.
Coraggio, vecchio.
And this dude did not kill Ezio. As rude as he sounds, I don't think this is meant to be sarcastic, as the following nod and smile feel very genuine. Ezio's first reaction was to throw shade back and fight when he finally doesn't have to. And this man reminds him of that fact. And so he's able to slip peacefully looking at the people he loves. And Ezio died in the same place his brothers and father did. So, Poetic? I think I spelled that right. Whatever.
And now, in the twilight of my life...
Oh baby, we hear the eagle screech as it does when we take a leap of faith. But then a second one that kind of sounds like an inverse of the first one, or even like a closing statement as Ezio says twilight, bringing us to the end of his chapter, using the most iconic imagery and sound related to assassins. Though he always spoke of leaving the Creed behind, his final words are marked with their insignia, forever placing these last words firmly with the other family he loved so much. And so we all cried and thanked Ubisoft for the bittersweet ending that they allowed Ezio to have. This man's story has such a special place in my heart and soul. As many of you know, I was born in 2000. These games came out right when I was becoming old enough to actually play the game and engage with its systems, but more importantly, understand the story being told to me, even with much of it flying over my head. I grew up on these games, and in a way, grew up with Ezio. It's a rare thing in storytelling to get such a detailed look at a person's life and the way that we are shown with Ezio. We are there for his literal birth to his literal death. We see all of his struggles with women, family, work, his place in life, and what makes this even more special is that we play as him. This connection we share with Ezio, I believe, is only possible because it's interactive. Because we've had other stories chronicling one's entire life, but it doesn't stick like his. But there is another big reason I believe this man sticks with us the way he does, and it actually has nothing to do with him. His games came out as the 7th generation was popping off, when storytelling and graphics and gameplay were all getting major overhauls in the gaming sphere. I seriously believe it's the combination of new, dazzling tech alongside one of the best stories Ubi has created. Because there have been a lot of great stories recently, but they don't stick as hard to me for one reason or another. I think it's because it was such a great story alongside being blown away just by an open world game. And I'm saying this because I remember when I was 9 and I stayed at my brother's house. His husband had AC2, and for one reason or another I started playing it, and he had already gotten the robes. And I wanted the Crimson one so bad. I spent like an hour pickpocketing $2 grand just to buy them. I'm 22 now, but this memory is seared into my brain for some reason. I can remember the layout of the room, how the light hit everything, which street I was on at the game when I finally got the robes. But I also remember when I finally got the game myself and how blown away I was, as I had never played anything like it, and I can visualize the same room again. I wonder if you guys have the memories that are so seared like that. And I sometimes imagine if I ever would have played these games if it wasn't for that random chance of my brothers and how that all spirals and blah, blah, blah. But enough story time. I know you're all wishing for me and want me to talk about Ezio. What a character, for real. I have my criticisms and you heard them, but overall, the best storytelling of the franchise right alongside Assassin's Creed 4. Like I mentioned, we follow this man from birth to death, and my favorite piece of framing Ubi did for this character is the controlling idea of we must fight for our place in this world to earn it. From the moment Ezio is born, we're scared he's stillborn, and Giovanni asks him to fight, and Ezio starts kicking, punching, and screaming. And near the end in Embers, we see Ezio fighting once again, even smiling about it. His entire life has been punctuated with the fight. Of course, not for its own sake, but for freedom. Even before he was an assassin, he was unknowingly fighting for freedom. When we first truly meet Ezio, we see it's in his blood to stand up against oppressors and be one with his people. I mean, the first thing he says is, "We stand together." And in his last moments, he still stands with the Creed, with the city, his people. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. Seeing Ezio as a 17-year-old having it all is so important for his journey we see him embark on. No one likes a perfect protagonist. We see him look down on the likes of thieves and courtesans, put faith in the nobility that is to protect his better-than family. I don't blame Ezio, because as far as we can tell, this was just the way he was raised, and much of what we are as kids and teens are byproducts of what our parents have instilled in us. Which leads me to Ezio's newfound family in the Creed. During all of 2 and a good part of Brotherhood, we watch as he's being parented by the assassins, basically, and only becomes the best version of himself because of the people he surrounds himself with. Take out Machiavelli, Mario, Bartolomeo, or Paolo, Ezio isn't the same man. which is the hard truth we hear time and time again, which is we are the company we partake in. If you're unhappy with who you've become or what you're doing, maybe the first best place to look is around and not inward. The answers might surprise you. They sure surprised me when I had to make the same tough call and remove people from my life, but I promise you, just like Ezio, it's the thing to do if you want to be the best version of yourself. And then there's the question of what do you do now that you've got it all? Ezio rebuilt the Order and rooted out Templars at home in Rome. And I think Ezio had the right idea of being curious, looking for understanding in whatever form that might take. Being curious is what has gotten humanity as far as it has. If we stop asking questions and looking for answers, that's when we stop progressing and become stagnant. Being stagnant with no one beside you is just a horrible way to live. And I'll explain what I mean by that in a second. Back to Ezio asking questions though. Throughout all of Revelations, his main goal is to find a library and understand its contents. And he does that. He achieves his goal, and when met with the opportunity for more knowledge and learning, he says no. He spent his whole life trying to get to this moment, to understand his place in the world. He's got it right at the tip of his fingers, and says no. And I'm sure you can see where I'm going with this. It's 100% because of Sophia. I am firmly in the belief that as long as you've got that special someone in your life, it doesn't matter what you're doing or where you're going, because as long as they're by your side, they will be your okay, and you will be okay. This is what I meant by no one else besides you. I think it's okay to be stagnant, as long as you've got someone you love and they love you. And I look at Ezio as my proof of this statement. After everything he's done, has seen, has done, can still do, he says no to be with Sophia, farm, and live a simple life. And it's a trope I used to never understand and think was so silly when I was younger. Constantly we see men and women of great renown slink away from the world onto a farm. I mean, look at Hayden Christensen in real life. Life really isn't as complicated as we like to make it out to be. Love one another, find shelter, get a meal, and just laugh. It's really that simple for a happy life. We've muddied it up with politics and hierarchies and our desperate human need for power. And now just looking at these men and women who could just reject everything and go provide for themselves and their family, I can't have any other feeling other than longing. Longing for the moment in my life where I get to be so blessed. Like I mentioned time and time again, I'm not some rider of renown. I'm not someone with knowledge or ability above anyone else. I'm not here to give an objective breakdown of a game's narrative and things. If you want that, go watch the rest of the YouTubers. White Light, Luke Stevens, Lasers, they're all great. But what I want, and hope you enjoy out of these videos, is talking about what sticks out to me in these games that I love and what I take away from it, reflect upon in my own life. I want to get back to more into relating games to how we go about living our life, and I want to hear what you think. Do you think a happy life is as simple as I do? Would you have grabbed the apple at the end of Revelations or not? What are the keys or things that you do every day to lead a happy life? Because at the end of the day, isn't that what everything we do is for? Just to be happy. I know this is probably getting weird, sappy, and most of you probably clicked off, but the ones that are still here, I write these scripts on games in an attempt to be happy, to entertain you and make you happy, or at least to forget about all the shit for a few moments, because life's hard in reality. I can be all picturesque and simple, but it's tough out here, guys. And I hope I did okay for at least one of you. And remember, babies, drive the speed limit, drink some water, and love one another. Pizza.